don't know what happened to me. All I know is that something happened. I am simply leaving this as a recorded account regarding a bizarre occurrence that happened to me in the forest, so that others in the future may learn from and possibly make sense of. It started off as any normal day. It was sunny with blue skies. However, the local townsfolk were noticing a large increase in hitting wildlife with their cars while they were driving and damaging their vehicles. For those of you who may not know, if a kangaroo comes through your windshield, your life depends on how fast you get out of the moving car, because their foot claws are razor sharp, absolutely lethal, and when they start kicking and thrashing around inside the car, it can pretty much be compared to a psychopath on PCP wielding a meat cleaver. This increase in roadkill can only mean one thing. There is a break somewhere in the sanctuary line fence. And it was my job for the next few days to find out where it is and make the necessary repairs. It was coming up to lunchtime, and I still hadn't found any breaks in the line. As I said, it was a sunny day, the forest was beaming with life, and it was clear as the eye could see. As I was driving to the next zone with some fat beats coming out of the radio, it suddenly crackled badly, and for some reason it ceased to work, except for the hiss of the white noise. I immediately looked down and focused on turning the dials around, thinking I may have somehow knocked the wrong button, knocked the wrong dial, something like that, while at the same time putting my foot on the brake and bringing the already slow-moving vehicle to a complete stop. My next thought was perhaps a tree branch knocked the antenna out, and as I looked up, I now noticed I was completely surrounded by a strange, thick, white, foggy mist. And in fact, it was so thick, I couldn't even see the trees on the side of the dirt track just a few feet away. Now, I've been in the forest, especially this forest, thousands of times, literally thousands of times, okay? But I have never encountered this thick, fast-moving mist before. And sure, you might get a slight fog on a cold night or an early morning, but nothing compared to what has just surrounded me right now. But in saying that, at this point I didn't actually think anything was strange or out of the ordinary, and just thought, hey, I must have just driven into a heavy fog. So I drove on slowly as best I could, but I had to wind my window down all the way and stick my head out just to even have a chance at staying on the track. It was that bad. It was at this moment I noticed everything was dead quiet now. This was strange, because just moments ago, as I said, it was beaming with life. The birds were chirping, the insects were doing their business, the wind was blowing, the trees were rustling, everything was alive. Alright? I stopped the car and turned it off just to listen, because I was perplexed at why this had happened. Why was the forest now suddenly dead? It was dead quiet, eerily quiet, and it was as if the wildlife had just seemingly ceased to exist. Right, so this is where it got a little creepy, because there was a sound outside. I noticed a sound. Everything was dead, but that made me focus on this sound that was happening. Okay? And it was a strange sound that I had never heard before. The only way to describe it, it was similar to people talking, except it wasn't discernible, and I never made out a single word. So it was similar to talking, but not quite, if you know what I mean. If I had to describe it further, then it was like a strange mumbling with high-pitched bits to it, and also like a crittering, clicking, like a large insect sound. Now, naturally puzzled and weirded out, I proceeded to drive on, and just 5 minutes on, I knew I was completely and utterly lost. I really was. I didn't know where I was, didn't know which direction I was going in, where I had come from, where I was going. I was lost. And this ain't no joke out here. People that get lost die very easily. You can walk yourself to death before you come across any form of civilization, which actually reminds me of a story I've got. Now, many years ago, my friend's house is right on the borderline of the forest. It doesn't have any fences, it's just back straight onto the forest, okay? His son went out looking for firewood one evening, and he never came back. For 2 days and 2 nights, search and rescue was looking for him, and finally his father got a phone call. And he claims he got lost, but it's a little bit hazy. So 1 minute he's bending over picking up firewood, he says, and the next minute he realizes he's walking through the forest and he's completely lost. He doesn't know how he got lost. He's gone out and picked out firewood many times. You know, it's not hard. You just walk out a bit, get some wood, turn back, go back to the house. But for some reason he became disorientated and dazed. And for those 2 days and 2 nights, he walked 50 kilometers. And believe me, he's lucky he came across a road, because if he didn't, he would still be out there, dead. So at this point, I've been driving for coming up to about 2 hours. My fuel is low, and honestly, I'm starting to panic. My phone is also pretty much dead in the water. I've been trying to call in for a possible rescue, but as soon as someone answers the phone, it drops out. It just doesn't have any stable signal. What I just barely managed to do was at least let some people know on my Facebook that I was lost, and I was also able to send out a couple of private messages to friends and family, and I did this by continuously pressing resend, resend, resend until they finally went through, and it took about 30 attempts each. So here is the exact Facebook post that I posted. Right, I have been driving in this weird, strange, hazy, foggy mist for over 2 hours. My fuel is low, and honestly I'm thinking, oh my god, this is going to be so embarrassing. There's going to be choppers, search and rescue looking for me. As soon as I walk out, there's going to be news cameras in my face. I'm usually a very stable and balanced person, but I was really starting to panic at this point. I probably traveled another 15 minutes, and then finally, to my absolute relief, I hit a proper road. And although it was deserted and didn't even have a road sign that I could find, it was just such a relief. And the strange thing that happened was when I stopped on the road, my radio that previously stopped working suddenly sprang back to life, and all the radio stations had come back, and it was playing music again. At this exact moment that I realized this mist was not normal. There was something very strange about it. Because what happened was, when the radio first went down and I was playing with the dials, I accidentally turned it up to full on maximum. And when it came back to life, it absolutely scared the shit out of me, actually, because it was so loud. I jumped out of my skin. So I leant down and I quickly turned it off. I looked back up. Now get this is the strange thing. As soon as I looked up, the sky was blue, the birds were chirping, the forest was alive, the mist was gone, completely and utterly gone. How does that happen? That's not a normal situation, and it just can't happen like that. And to me, what it felt like was I left something or I came back from something. It was that type of feeling. So we've gone from a thick, gloomy, silent mist that surrounded me and was almost taunting me. Look down for about 5 seconds, look back up, and it's blue skies, birds chirping, wind blowing, leaves rustling, all of the natural things that it should have been in the afternoon. Because remember, this isn't early morning, this isn't night. This has been going on from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, that's the first half of the strange thing that happened. Now this is the second part. I was expecting to be at least 3 hours away from the location where I should have been, okay? I was driving for 3 hours, nearly 3 hours, right? Now when I followed that road and finally found my way around, I was only 10 minutes away. 10 minutes. I don't know how that happened. I wasn't circling, I wasn't coming backwards and forwards and shooting all over the place, you know? I was just driving forwards. I wasn't doing U-turns and all that bull crap. I was just driving forwards. And I really don't understand how it's only 10 minutes away from where my original location was. Beyond this point, I've come home, I've thought about it, and I've done a bit of research online. And I would like to show you just a handful of many stories that I found online, okay? So have a read of this, because this is really interesting when taking my story into account. Now finally, I do have something intriguing for you to watch. I did actually capture video footage of this mist that I was trapped in. And so, as I said before, this is a true and full account to the best of my ability of what happened to me that day. And if you've come this far in the video, then thank you for watching and listening to me. Bye for now.